Welcome to MFP Live. I'm Donna Ladd, the editor and co-founder of the Mississippi Free Press, and I'm here as always with Kimberly Griffin, the publisher and co-founder of the Mississippi Free Press. Hey, Kimberly.
Hello, hello, hello.
So we are really excited for the show because we're going to be talking to somebody that, you know, we've all known each other for a long time in Jackson, I think, and it's kind of it's kind of circling around and covering Nick and what he's doing and watching his growth as a chef and what I would call a media star. I don't know if he would say that about himself or not, but I want to tell you guys just a little bit about Nick Wallace, who is our guest tonight, and then we're going to hand it over to him. Fresh off his recent stint on Food Network's Top Chef, Nick is well known now as a fan favorite on the popular cooking competition, but his heart is still at home in Mississippi, where he first learned to cook in his grandmother's kitchen. In his career as a chef, Nick continues to draw from those lessons about the value of fresh, nutritious foods and the best way to prepare them that he learned in those Mississippi kitchens. He takes those lessons and combines them with French culinary techniques in a way that elevates standard Southern dishes into creations that he calls modern Mississippi cuisine. So you guys have been seeing him on TV lately. I know I don't even actually have to introduce him very, very much, but he has been named the best chef for a number of years by the Jackson Free Press's Best of Jackson competition locally. So it's like local and national recognition. Hello, Nick. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
Well, we're tickled you're here. I think what I want to do is just get you to talk. Just tell us a little bit. This is a Mississippi focus show, right? So tell us in your own words about growing up here and, how that path led you into becoming the chef that you are now.
So being rooted here in Mississippi, I grew up in Edwards, Mississippi. So I grew up on this cul-de-sac that my grandfather wanted to kind of protect the family. So we really honestly didn't have to go in town for nothing. So I went through that transition. I moved to Jackson when I was 10 years old with my mom and my older sister. And, Jackson was like Vegas, at that point. So we get to Jackson, it's like, big lights, big dreams. And that's kind of how I felt about it the whole time. And growing up and just being rooted in Jackson public schools, coming up, always had that food background, always loved to cook. My sister, honestly, probably hate cooking because I spoiled her so much. My mom is a really good cook too. So from transitioning to trying to find my way in kitchens around Jackson, I got a chance to travel a lot. So that right there really did the most for me because I got a chance to just, touch and see and have other friends out there in the world. But I got to see something else that put a whole nother lens on what Mississippi is. And I love it so much. When I go somewhere, I'm just ready to get back home, just that quick because I just love it. So I crafted, my story, because I don't want to hide it. It's a rooted story from Mississippi. I am proud of the fact where I came from, all of the stories I have with Jackson Public Schools, my grandmother, my sister, all those are just amazing stories. And it kind of crafted me of who I am in the kitchen.
So I don't know if you remember this, but I ate, am I on mute? I don't know if you remember this, but I ate, you catered something at the museum and I texted you and I said, this is the closest anyone has ever gotten to my grandmother's collard greens. And you were like, I didn't even make them, but thank you. I think it was your sous chef that made them. And I was like, this is the closest I have ever gotten.
Yeah.
And besides my mother, that is the closest anyone has ever gotten. Talk to me a little bit about the culinary traditions in your family, how they influenced you. And then maybe you can talk about going from home cook to culinary to a profession, because that's a transition. You know, I'm a home cook, but to move into the culinary world as a profession, that takes some thought, that takes some process, that takes some skill.
Yeah. So, so the way I was raised, everything was like all about slow food. So it was always a pot on the stove. It was always stocks cooking down. It was always, you know, everything from celery to the onion peels, making veggie stocks. It was always mason jars dropped in boiling water because preservation has always been there. So I honestly, when I look from the home life of what I was raised, pretty much like homesteading completely, drawing honey, all that. And then when I transitioned to the professional, you know, side of everything, it's really not that different. You know, yeah, you got different acts that you're gonna, you know, change up. Your quantity is completely different. Your methods, you know, changes. But a lot of the style of like my Miss Linnell and Edwards, her whole definition of how her work ethic is a lot of the things I bring into my professional kitchen. I preserve, I jar, you know, pretty much most everything that I cook has some type of acid. I am having onion jams and all from last year. Like that's what it's all about. So my slow food and all is there. But the one thing that my grandmother could teach me, because she's never been like a professional, you know, cook. She's never been that. So one of my star moments of my life is when I started working in the hotel industry. When I started working in the hotel industry and I learned how to, you know, do a lot of public speaking, I learned numbers very well. You know, I learned how to deal with a brigade system. You know, I learned how to speak out loud to my team, motivate people. It really wasn't about the food, but it was. It was really about the specification, because every ingredient really matters to your food costs and you have to hit them every time in a hotel. So I survived that lifestyle for like 16 years. So that there with the way I was raised pretty much made me. But the other biggest thing that kind of gave me my polish was that I didn't want to hide my story. So my story, you know, in my professional career is something that I take with me like forever. That biscuit recipe, and I'm sorry, Kim, if you haven't saw this yet, but that biscuit recipe was my nana's, because I made that same recipe, you know, forever, and a whole lot of things just not going to change. I do put my twist on many things. I don't cook like my grandmother, but the flavor and all is still pronounced, because she say one thing: you better make sure your personality, and you got to make sure that people know that you're cooking this food. So that's the one thing that took me a while to realize. And that was one of the reasons why I started Nick's 26, because I wanted to show people, like, you know, how to Nick's whole journey taste. You know, that's what I want you to taste. And it's powerful though. When you get connected with yourself and your journey and your story, you know, nothing can stop you.
That, you know, that's so interesting, because I think when I watched this season of Top Chef, and I'm only 4 episodes in, so I don't know everything yet. But I was struck by how when Top Chef first started, it was very homogeneous, right? Because I've been watching Top Chef since, 16 years ago. It's very homogeneous. But now you see this purposeful, intentional to tell a more American story, as I call it. So you've got your Black Appalachians, you've got folks with mixed race folks with their fusion of Asian styles, to tell kind of that unique story. Talk to us a little bit about what you've seen change in the culinary industry, maybe even in the last 4 or 5 years.
So the one thing has really changed as far as for my lens is people are starting to believe in themselves. You have so many more examples out there, and you really can complement like social media. So you don't have to really go out to travel to a lot of these places to really find or know stories about this restaurant, the chef, this restaurateur, whatever. You can really start adapting and reading books and, you know, keeping your eye on YouTube and really seeing what the world is changing into. And people used to tell me all the time, like, Mississippi is the, you know, they always get the last thing. You know, we get the last of the new clothes, the shoes, you know, the new techniques. Mississippi is the last. Well, I believe that and I don't. Because I think as professionals, we just have to kind of beat, folks to the punches in a way, because you want to be that person that, can you don't want nobody to get bored on you. It's just like your food. You can get caught up into your same ways for so long, you just vanish almost. So you really have to push the envelope. So what I see now is I see aggression. I see people that wants to survive, and especially the pandemic only heightened that. Like, you have a lot of ambassadors out here that don't need nobody to give them that award anymore. We're going to take it. And that's the way it's supposed to be, because this whole culinary journey here in Mississippi, it's only going to get to where it needs to be if we can surround it around competition. We need competition. Competition thrives it. From the service to the bartenders to the chefs to the cooks, everybody, we need competition. That's where you get the best. Just period.
I love what you're saying there. Just this idea of working for excellence in Mississippi, and raising, it's something that we're very interested in as well within journalism and storytelling, but helping raise that bar, for that, for excellence here, and to help others do the same thing, especially people from Mississippi. So I guess my question there would be, if there's, as well as I do, that there are a lot of young people who have this push-pull about leaving Mississippi, mm-hmm. and whether or not there are these opportunities here for them, or they could be excellent or be happy or whatever. So I guess my question there would be, what would you say to young people who are, looking up to you, particularly within the food industry, who are looking up to you as a role model, and kind of watching the way that you pretty much, you did this from Mississippi, but they're kind of saying, I don't know if I can stay, so I'm just curious what you would say directly to them.
Well, probably the first thing I would say is to all the young folks, and I definitely honestly like to be completely truthful about everything. Just know nothing happens overnight. That's probably one of the things that is a problem, because everybody feels that in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I'm supposed to be here. You have to put in the work. I'm 43. I have been cooking in Jackson since I was 16, 17, so I'm not that overnight story. Like, tell that to my knees, tell that to my legs, tell that to me. So things just don't happen overnight, but you need things to be, repetitive and consistent, because that just, it matures you. So just think about it like this. You can get greater at doing something right. Like, when you run up on a problem, it's not going to be really a problem anymore, but you can't see that quickly. You have to have experience to really see problems, because problems are not going to overwhelm you anymore. That's just a part of excellence. It really defines you of how you deal with a problem. And the other thing I would say is communication. Communication is one of the biggest things, the biggest roadblocks that will hold your career down if your communication is poor. It's just what it is. You have to be able to communicate. That's just a leadership, thing. And you have to just know that. When I'm going around and speaking to, kids in the Delta, and now I have a partnership with Ben's Originals, so they put me in front of a lot more of young people. I like to just really tell them and just be honest. We was making tortillas at Piney Woods a couple of weeks ago, and we was making two tortillas for everybody. We're making them from scratch with corn masa. And we had like 40 people. So I pulled about 3 students out of the crowd and told them to come over with me. So they're like, are we done yet? And he wants to be a chef. I'm like, no, we're not done. No, we're not done. I say, entertain your mind by just really looking at it and see how you can really define this tortilla, in really a great manner, but see how fast you can get, we still have the great quality. So he started going really fast and started breaking up the tortilla. I said, that's not what I'm saying. You really honestly need to do it at the same pace. Do your 10 at the same pace. And then we're going to pick it up just a little bit then. He was like, why we got to do 10? I could just go to 5th gear now. And I'm like, that's not how life works. You need to put in some time, and you need to mature, and you need to own in your skills. So a lot of times you could say this until you're blue in the face. You know, you really can. But it takes time. It takes a leader to just really take their time with people. And that's the one thing we do with our team. We have a lot of folks from Hines Community College, and we take our time. Nick just graduated from Hines Community College. He will be a true leader, but I am not I'm not letting him jump over to the 6th lap. He's got to go through all those steps. It's just what it is. Because he asked me the other day, it was like, Nick, I'm ready to do something else. No, you're not. You haven't even met a year yet. No, you need to go and let's really hone in on a lot of your skills, but you will be great. Just be patient.
And I'll also say for any aspiring writers and journalists out there, it's very similar advice. You know, you have to do it. You have to put in the time. And what is that they say about, you know, the 10,000 hours that it takes to become a genius in something? You know, it's, you know, a lot of people, like you say, people think others are overnight successes when they've put in years or even decades sometimes. That's really good advice. I appreciate you saying that. Now, I wanted to ask you also if, on this, if, you know, my nephew, Austin, Agent, was a pastry chef in Oxford for a number of years. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the restaurant industry and, you know, the long hours, the stress, and, you know, in many cases, alcoholism and other kinds of, you know, substance abuse, that if, you know, like, I don't think he would mind me saying it, but that this idea that you see a lot of people who are just working way too hard and stressed, and that there's been these high expectations that, you know, of that level of stress. And, you know, one of the things he said to me was that he felt like there is an awakening about some of these issues. And, but I'm just curious what you have seen and kind of on the other end of the scale of what we're talking about. Right. And if you know, what you might be seeing that is good news on that front too.
Well, I think, you know, I honestly think that social media is honestly, it's you can use that to a lot of the advantages by a lot of things getting better, because a lot of things is being, you know, put out there, just like policing and everything else. But that is still a dangerous, you know, spot that's in our industry, and abuse, you know, completely. But like, you know, it's all about the leadership too. It's really honestly not about the staff members. Yes, anybody can leave work and do whatever they want to do, but it really takes somebody to really set the tone just so you can develop like-minded people. And, you know, when you have a team and you have a company and all, you really honestly have to do a little bit more than just talk about cooking. It really has to be a lot more than just about cleaning and health inspections. It really needs to be about purchasing homes, taking vacations, taking breaks. It needs to be about, hey, you know, fitness. It has to be with this whole bottle of things that you deal with in that you're supposed to deal with in your personal life. So when you got that right there, it's not a big issue. Now, throughout my journey, when I was 17, 18, and 19, I got caught up pretty badly. And I used to listen a lot to Kathleen Bruno when she was here. And, you know, she's probably one of the best chefs that ever came, you know, from this area of Mississippi. And she used to say that, you know, one area that I really would target is like hotel industry, because it shows you how to dress, show up on time. You know, you have pretty much everybody watching you. You have a huge brigade system. You have a lot of accountability. You have a lot of meetings. You have to speak to people. You have to show up at 9 o'clock meetings to talk up for your area. So it holds you out there and makes everything kind of transparent in a way. So you can't come to work looking any kind of way. You can't be hungover from the other night, you know, because you're not going to last long, because everything is out in the open. So, you know, I think our industry really honestly have to be as transparent. I'm about to open up this place in Midtown that I want the whole place. Just open. I don't want no walls, and I always invite everybody to my kitchen. And if y'all are ever down, just walk into the kitchen. It's not an issue. The staff knows it, because we want you to see. I want you to eat your food and just know, like, the team. I want you to know how clean we are. I want you to see how we're dressed. I want you to see the ambiance and all, because I don't think you should have nothing to hide. But that right there helps with a lot of that.
Well, Donna, you should not have told Donna and I that you're opening something in Midtown.
Yeah.
Because we have plans for you. We will text you later. So I remember, it may have been a decade ago now. I think it was a decade ago now. One of my favorite actresses filmed a movie here, and she's in Mississippi. And she said when she responded to, talked about what it was like to film a movie in Mississippi, she said everything was fried. And even then I was like, where were you eating? Like, yes, we do like the fried food. But even in the place she was filming, I was like, did you not even walk across the street? Like, you were filming across the street from, like, Aladdin. Like, did you not even, it was just that kind of, what is a misnomer that you encounter all the time about Southern food that just kind of chaps your hide? You seem like an even person, but you gently help people understand that it's more complex than that.
Yeah, it definitely irks me. But I want the world to know, everywhere you go, it's fried chicken, it's fried catfish, it's fried something. Something is deep fried and people are devouring it, wings, whatever it is. And yeah, we have suffered through a lot of scars through that. And throughout my journey, especially doing TV, I've been doing TV since 2013. And I remember this first opportunity I got to be on Cutthroat Kitchen. And I get on this show with this actor / chef. And he probably felt himself a lot. So he just went out, went at me about the easiest way he could to say that I could only fry catfish and fry chicken and make combat sauce and all that. And that honestly fueled me, because I started getting, I'm not promoting tattoos, but I started getting tattoos in 2015 after that. After I came back, I placed second, I kind of licked my wounds, and I started to really understand, like, yeah, some of those scars and all is probably going to be out there forever with people about what some people think about Mississippi. So I put like a bucket of fried chicken on my arm. I put, I got catfish on there. I'm not going to hide behind these things. Do I fry chicken every single day, every week? No, I don't. But you know what? I grew up off of it. And we do everything in moderation too. We eat very healthy here in Mississippi. We like eclectic cuisines. We like a little bit of everything, just like anywhere else that I've been at. So that scar is going to be there, just like racism, just like, just all of those scars right there. But yeah, all we can do is put our best foot forward. And if you get an opportunity out there to showcase yourself on any type of national scale, you better do your best, because you got a whole state watching you. And that's how I take on ownership with that.
So one of the things, and I think I have a two-parter, maybe I have a one-parter. One of the things I've always wondered about is what's it like, and I don't know how much you can tell us, but what's it like behind the scenes of those competitions, especially those long ones when you're around for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't know how long the 2 or 3 episode ones last, but I know those longer stints are longer than we even interpret. What's it like being in those situations? Is it cutthroat? Are people nice? Are you guys in the same quarters? Actually, talk a little bit about what that experience has been like for you.
So I went through some brutal ones. Cutthroat Kitchen was pretty brutal. And then when I got to Chopped, it wasn't that brutal. It was more of isolation more than anything. So you really honestly have to be, solid right here. And then when I went to Canada and did like Fire Masters, it was fun. It was fun being in Canada, maybe because they have, the greenery is legal. So everybody is just super nice. I don't know if that's it, but I love it. And I'm ready to go back. When Top Chef hit now, nothing was on the same level as Top Chef. Nothing at all. All those other shows, I was there, maybe the longest was a week. I was gone from Top Chef. I was gone for over 3 months. So I think your first week or 2 weeks is like the hardest. And, you know, it's always that doubt in your mind because you don't want to be around nobody that, you know, have blood for you, don't want you there. And that's what I thought at first, because you just don't know. But, you know, you just be yourself. And then, you know, it was like magic. It was like one of the perfect, I couldn't have placed this group of chefs, you know, no differently. I'm glad that I had, you know, those 14 other chefs that was there, because it was like harmony. We all got along. We all cooked well together. Wasn't no fussing and fighting. And I just think that's what it is, because I don't do that in my everyday life, and I don't think they do either.
Right. You guys come from a community. Most of those chefs on Top Chef, well, I guess all of them this season that I saw, had built a community, a culinary community where they were, and they were cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I've noticed about you, and I think you can't put too fine a point on it, is you understand marketing. You understand that you need people to help you market. You understand that you need someone to answer the email. You don't have time to answer the email, but there is someone that, and you've created systems where I didn't know you were gone for 3 months. I felt like I ate your food at least twice during that time, and I guess I did. I was like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I just noticed you've done that so well. And while it's not necessarily fair, I feel like a lot of really good chefs miss that point,
Mm-hmm.
that it is more than just about the food to get to the next level.
Yes. It's that, you know, you almost have to just dream big and just write all this stuff down, and do not call yourself crazy. Just sky's the limit, write it down, all the possibilities that could happen. And you just do it. And the hardest thing that anybody could tell you is no, you know. So I honestly didn't believe at all that I was the first chef in 19 seasons to bring a product on. That just, you know, it's nothing against all the other chefs in 18 other seasons, but it's just, it baffles me though to know that nobody brought a product on. So I didn't know that by coming on. So that and the Mississippi map cutter, I was trying to do every single thing as I could to make sure that I could be remembered. You know, that is one of my biggest thing. And it's a whole nother story behind that with my family, but I wanted to be remembered. You know, you coming from Mississippi, you're the first Mississippi chef to ever be on Top Chef. And what's going to happen? Oh no, you're going to put your best foot forward. And I just think that's what we create here in Mississippi. That's why people has to come here. We have thoroughbreds, is what my uncle used to say. Like, we have stallions here. You know, we have, you know, we're powerful with our speeches, with the things that we do. We have amazing people just have so much talent here. And I just love it. And I just wanted to make sure that, you know what, I was the best steward as I possibly could be. And I took on that ambassadorship from Mississippi. I did that. I gave it to myself. And I was going to scream Mississippi every opportunity that I could, you know. And you know, it worked, and I'm just glad everything turned out the way it did.
So I want to get you to talk a little bit about your community, more about your community efforts. Mm-hmm. So I know that the nonprofit, the Creativity Kitchen, that you started, which worked through Jackson Public Schools or collaborated. I mean, tell us more about that.
So I wanted to get into the school system really badly. I was the exec chef and culinary curator for the Mississippi Museum of Art. And we was having so much fun there with Julian Rankin. We was doing all these wonderful pop-ups. And the one thing for me is I get bored easy. So I went out and I put a garden in the back of the museum, talked to Betsy Bradley. She's like, go for it. You know, we'll figure out how we can get our kids to shuffle through there. So we did that. And I'm like, hey, I want to go into the school systems. And then I got a call from Mary Hill when she was the food service director for Jackson Public School. And she said, Nick, I really want you to come out and give out awards to all the cafeteria workers at the Marriott. And I was like, okay. So I had a little one-on-one with her. Me and her is on the stage with the superintendent. And I just leaned over and I said, Mary, would you mind if I go into Blackburn and just kind of play around in the kitchen and just see what may happen. She was like, sure, sign this liability and just have fun. And that's what happened. I went in, I started cooking food. I started taking a lot of their products from USDA, brought in some crookneck squash, some peppers, some shishitos and all that. And we just started cooking. And it created this ambiance that was great. And that's when Creativity Kitchen was born. And at that point, I had Julian Rankin there to help with a lot of the text about it. And we did a mission statement, and we had Creativity Kitchen that was featured on Mondays. So you could come into the go to school on Mondays and have a complete custom menu by me. And you come in, you dine with me. I'll bring the kids in the kitchen, show them around, and they, they put all colorful tablecloths down. It was the thing. They had a little music. I had Cindy Ayers to drop by because we was using her product. We was doing veggie pizza. It was like a really thing. And I wanted to do that because I didn't know what the kids was going through over the weekend. So at least they can come and see me, and I can kind of set the stage for them to go out and just, monster their grades and go do what you have to do. So when the other middle schools started hearing about it, they called for a meeting. And it was like, Nick, we want to meet you at Cordova. And I thought I was really in trouble, but they was blunt. All the principals came up and said that, Nick, we think Creativity Kitchen is great, but it won't be no Creativity Kitchen if you can't get it into all 13 of the middle schools. And I'm like, oh my God, like how in the world is this gonna happen? So we played around with it for like 30 days, and we found the way that we could bounce around to some of the larger kitchens and do the training. So we started doing all the trainings with all the cafeteria workers in one kitchen. And the training will last like 6 hours because we're going through everything. Then we will let everybody kind of go. We'll send them all their products, and everybody will feature Creativity Kitchen on Mondays. So what I would do is I would start like at 8:30, before lunch. I would start bouncing around to as many schools as I could. And I was kind of tapped out at 6. I couldn't get to no more than that. And Creativity Kitchen, it lasted, all the way up until the pandemic. And it was great. And I'm super proud, but that kind of birthed Creativity Kitchen. So now I still do work with Jackson Public Schools, but I also put Creativity Kitchen in Gaston, Alabama, Erlanger, and Hazard, Kentucky as well.
Well, you mentioned there Cindy Ayers Elliott, who a lot of people will know is a farmer. That's like such a small thing to call her, but she's a visionary and a food insecurity visionary and all these other things. But we had done a story fairly recently about Blackburn and the kids growing their own, helping grow food and then selling it at a farmer's market, as well as some other programs. I mean, we've kind of been doing them like as solution stories for food insecurity, especially that was, really highlighted during since the pandemic started, right? So I'm just curious what you think of programs like that, where kids in schools are getting involved in these kind of agricultural efforts, and just to talk about that a little bit, because I have a feeling you have thoughts about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I have been involved with that learning garden since it started. You really see the success and the power on them when they're still living after all this time, because probably 90% of them don't live that long because of passion or, people get regrouped, all kinds of stuff happen. Mm-hmm. So the things that Blackburn is doing over there, it's working, because it's there. They have the community involved. So that's the right way to do it. And especially having farmers market and letting these kids collect money, getting them involved with banking and showing them what a food cost is, showing them what customer service is one of the key things. Putting them out front and letting them deal with people and knowing how to navigate things. Negotiation is a huge thing. And then two, they know what's right, and that encouraged them to take it home and do it at home. Most of them, I'm sure, has pots of vegetables of some sort, herbs growing at their home. It really works. Every time Cindy Ayers has had kids on that farm, they ate out of the farm. They ate a strawberry, they ate a pepper, they tasted something out there in the soil, but it works naturally. And so it has to be some type of agriculture for every single school. It really honestly needs to be mandated. That needs to be a must, and it needs to be a part of the curriculum too.
And then the other thing that, you know, I know that you did here locally is during the Jackson water crisis. And I think you may have referred to it already, but I wanted to get you to talk a little bit more about that. But that was like early 2021, and it was just as it you know, it was horrifying times here because but particularly for families that were already either food insecure or, you know, close to it. And so the way I understand it is that you partnered with World Central Kitchen and like 9 Jackson restaurants, right? To provide meals for families who needed it. Then talk more about that and what your plans might be for continuing that kind of work.
So I think the work that World Central Kitchen does is pretty much is an example of what we could do already. You know, it really is. I think it's amazing what Jose Andres is doing, and I'm glad to get the call, and I'm glad to see other chefs that was involved, because I ran into a lot of them at like US Food, Cisco, because they were all trying to, you know, get as many goods as they could, because you can max out as many meals as you possibly can. And this was a love, you know, thing. This was a love mission. This wasn't a financial mission. You know, you could really barely hit cost, you know, so you really had to be wanting to do for your community with this. And we try to max out our meals. You know, sometimes we was doing every bit of 4,000 meals like in 5 days, and that's a lot. I'm talking about all you're doing is you're batch cooking and you're plating. And while you're plating, somebody is taking that van and they're delivering. Now, the one thing that just, you know, I don't know, it just makes me feel good is going to the communities. You know, I love it. I have no problem with going into apartment complexes, doing cooking demos, or going out there shaking a hand and just being out there with the people, because I just feel like I'm just with the people. So I have a knack for that. So it was an easy thing by me taking that van while the team, you know, continues to keep getting meals, and I'm hitting, you know, neighborhoods and apartment complexes, making people smile. We're taking selfies, and it's like hugs. It's people shedding tears. It's all that. And don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow. That's one of my things. This is what I said to them. Don't worry, I will be back tomorrow. And we just tried to do, you know, the best that we could. But I love it because it was like a family atmosphere, and it was all done in Midtown.
You know, one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about being in the community, connecting with the community, serving the community. What is it like now that you were a personality, a TV personality? Now you're like a star. Like that's got to be a change. What has that been like when you try to run in a grocery store and I'm just here to get just grabbing one thing and grabbing some heavy cream. What is that like now? Because that certainly has changed how you encounter the world. Although I have heard people, stars from Mississippi, say no one in Mississippi cares you're famous, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much I believe that, because I have just put myself together that I'm ready for it. So
okay.
If I see somebody out there, and Officer Hill knows this the most, at Kroger on 55, Officer Hill, I love that guy. So a lot of the times, I remember once I was leaving, and it was these 2 older ladies that really wanted to just talk to me. They saw me on TV. They wanted to have a conversation with me. Obviously, he'll grab my basket and said, Nick, you go in there and you have, you know, talk to them. So most of the time, I think I'm going to Kroger for only 10 minutes and I'm there 40 minutes. And most of the time, I'm always stuck in the produce aisle too. I have taken people around to show them what type of dish. Somebody cooked salmon croquettes and wanted to do something that was mimic off one of my dishes on TV. So we went around, grabbed the capers, grabbed the vinegar, we grabbed the lemon, we went through it all, and we just kind of talked, and we just had a great life. But, you know, the good thing is the next day they was at my restaurant, you know, and I'm good now, quick on selfies, because a lot of times people are shy, they want to ask for it. So I just insist, can I please have your phone? Can I please take a selfie? Like, those are the things. But, I just make sure that, I'm never going to change. I don't care what happens in my life. I don't care what happens. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be just like I am. And I'm just going to try to stay as respectful as I am, passionate about what I do, and working extremely hard.
We talked a little bit about how well I see you marketing yourself, and I really want you to talk about that, because I think some young culinary up and coming folks need to hear how very intentional and when did you know that, okay, this needs to be part of my plan? Not only does my food need to be excellent, but I have to present myself to the public. I need a website. I need good headshots. I need somebody to send my press releases. When did you figure that part out?
When I really started like looking at the Emeralds and the Bobby Flay and John Best was one that was really close to me. John Currents, John T. Edge. When I started looking at these folks, and then I started, going to the Beard House, and people wanted to see me and my mama on the big screen and all that kind of stuff there. And I'm just wondering, like, you just have no idea how all your corners of your life needs to look good. So you never know unless you're just watching your website of how many views. Now, I used to see like 50 views or 40 views on my website, but now, we can look at it and we got close to 250,000. So when you look at that, misspell words and your smile, and if your pictures are great, and your food needs to look good and things need to look authentic, does it match your story? And it took me a while, but the one thing that I've always knew that from Kathleen Bruno, and that's the reason why out of my pockets, when I got out on my own, I hired an assistant. That was one of my first things I did, because I used to be called crazy by a lot of people that's in the industry. Why would you suffer that cost? And I'm like, one day I'm gonna be able to show you, because now I can focus on my food and I don't have to worry about that immediate response, because like people honestly would turn their back on you if you don't respond to them in 24, 48 hours. Like, okay, well, you're not serious, and that's from the TV shows and all the partnerships and all. They want you to be, your communication to be strong. If you're this big guy here in Mississippi, show us. But that's just not about the food. You honestly have to be crisp in so many different ways, as far as how you speak, how you dress, everything. And it just matters. And, I started developing that when I just realized that I didn't want to get caught up on chasing the ticket machine for the rest of my life. I love working in a restaurant. I love cooking on the line. I love doing competition. I love like everything. So I want to have like a mixed bag. But I never wanted to get caught up on that line that I realized that it's time for me to retire. And I have cooked 4,000 steaks and 3,000 cheeseburgers. And now it's time for me to go. What else didn't I do throughout my life? So now I get to do that. But you got to be, your communication got to be strong. You got to be able to know how to attract good people, train very well. You have to be able to teach and motivate, and then learn off them too. You just can't be like this stand-up person that nothing comes in. And you have to spend time with people too. They have to trust you and you have to trust them. And once you get that developed, it's a lot of things that you can do, because I was trying to realize a couple things. How are all these other chefs doing it in other areas? How can they manage to have these TV shows and run all these restaurants, and they're still like, they're here and people still love them? So I tried to strive to get there, and I think I know, the antidote. And I'm not going to turn my back on it, because I think that we all should be able to share that, and especially here in Mississippi.
Nick, you referred to Kathleen Bruno a couple times, and I was, we were friends for a while years ago. And for those who don't know, her restaurant here was Bruno's Eclectic, and it was a wonderful restaurant. And it was kind of well, I don't know if you would agree with this, but so feel free to disagree. But it was kind of before Jackson really became known as a foodie town. Is that fair to say? Right. Okay.
And I do want to say this, Donna, that if Bruno's was open now and this time, it would be the best restaurant in the Southeast. Period.
Well, and I believed that too, and just wonderful, wonderful food and concept. But with the reason I brought it up is hearing you mention her reminded me of her sharing one time when she was still running the restaurant. What she said was a real difficulty in Jackson and in Mississippi at that time of food cost, and because servings needed to be so large, because she said, and I don't think she would mind me saying this, she's no longer here, but she had said that she had kind of expressed that a lot of people expected, to take home half the food, and that it made, to do the kinds of food that she was cooking, it made it very difficult on the cost end. And so I guess, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, but also kind of your thoughts on how the food climate has changed, both maybe for food, but even, kind of the culture around it, particularly in Jackson or Mississippi in general. Whatever thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, we need a mixed bag, but one part of it don't need to be heavier than the other. And that's like the larger quantity size. You're going to need that in so many different fashions, cheeseburgers, we all, when it's time to eat a cheeseburger, you don't want to play around. You don't want, some little small cheeseburger. No, you want a cheeseburger. But I think once we start seeing like food in a different light, then the shapes and the sizes change completely, so you can go, especially travel. And I try to tell people a lot of times, get outside of Mississippi and go experience what the world is, because you don't need to get caught up in a bubble, but you need things that you can get excited about by bringing it back home, but portion sizes is definitely something that we all should look at. Course meals, it's another one. Tasting meals is like one of the best things that happens in a lot of other different states. We need more tasting menus here in all kinds of different fashions, because your portion size, it shrinks, but your quality goes way up, and that's what you want. A lot of times your portion size be large, but your quality is down, but you don't see that, but it's a reason why we can sell you this or put you on this buffet for this cheap, and you could just eat your heart out and then take loads of food home. I have a philosophy. When I go out to restaurants, I'm not going to take a to-go box. I'm going to try to order what I can eat, but I don't take to-go boxes home. It's just one of those things. I am going to, I don't think it's for me. I'm not going to stop buying to-go boxes in my restaurant, but it's just like one of my things. If I come to your restaurant, I'm going to enjoy your service and I'm going to enjoy your food, but I'm not going to take it home, because I want to come back to you. I don't want to experience in my refrigerator for the next day or 2 days or 3 days. I want to come back to you and let that be served to me, because it's a service that we do, and it's not going to be the same when you heat it up in the microwave the next day, and it's my food. That's not yours. So, it's just one of those things. I believe to-go boxes shouldn't exist. You order what you're going to order unless you have an ice cream and you're walking into your car. But other than that, that's it.
Yeah, we talk about food size. You were talking about working with young people and helping them grow food, cook food. One time I was in what used to be McDade's, and I bought either some oregano or some parsley. I don't remember what it was. And the person checking me out said, "Don't you want the real?" It was the fresh leaves. Said, "Don't you want the real stuff?" And I was like, "This is the real stuff," because it was used to coming out in a shaker. Like, this is the real stuff.
Yeah.
When you talk to what I find is, I think there's such a disconnect between our food and that is on our plate and our food from where we come from. I grew up half-time on my grandfather's farm. When you talk to these young folks, do you experience that disconnect?
Mm-hmm.
And when they start planting things and growing their own vegetables, is there a change in the way they see food?
Yes, it's definitely a change. And just like the person that was in that grocery store, like a lot of people honestly think that way, but they need to experience a lot more. And I tell people, just like you need a doctor in your life, you need a chef in your life, you need a farmer in your life, you need all that. And if you know somebody, a farmer and all, get out there and learn. Or you could just pick up books and just start reading, get curious about certain things. Because it is so many people now that I'm encountering that are such picky eaters, and they're not picky off of just being allergic. They're just picky because it's unknown to them. And you don't bring no eggplant to me because that don't sound right. An eggplant don't sound right, and nothing's supposed to be black, you know. But when they eat it, they enjoy it. It's a family. I'm gonna call him out. His name is Al. Like when I first met Al, they was growing greens and sweet potatoes and onions and all, but they really wasn't growing like eggplant. And, you know, they was doing squash, but squash was a common thing. So when they started growing eggplant, they wanted to figure out how to cook it. So then I helped figure out a dish that they could like. And now eggplant is there in the garden every single year, and they're always cooking eggplant. And it's one of the best things that the family can eat now. So it's just one of those things we got to open up, and then we just got to try to, you know, and just experience life. You know, food is life. You know, life is food. You know, it's everything that we put in our body. And sometimes we got to get out of some of these other bad habits.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I remember I was talking to a family member, and she was talking about this restaurant. It was the same thing Donna was talking about. She said, "Oh, it was great. They gave you a lot of food." And I was like, that's not the rule. That's not how that works. Nope.
Nice.
It's not the same. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting. You're right about the palate that a lot of young people, not necessarily, but there's a palate, you know, there's a limited, there's some chicken strips or some nuggets involved. Mm-hmm. There's some crinkle cut fries. Like you can just, it's like they are experiencing the food we ate. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of it's time, some of it's food deserts, some of it's you get what you can. But it's interesting to watch because when you go away, you know, peer pressure will create an opportunity for you to try some different things and for you to grow. Mm-hmm. But you know, and I also think, you know, I know how I was raised, but my parents were like, you eat it, not eat it. I don't care. But this is what we eat. It's like ain't nobody making no new food for you. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's not like we're running to McDonald's because you don't want this. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. So you're going to get hungry enough or not, but this is it.
So I do want to tell you briefly about this summer camp that I have at the museum now. And this is the first time this summer camp, they have done this summer camp. So I've heard from 4 of the mothers. There's only about 20 kids. So they was packing their kids up, their regular, you know, turkey sandwiches and all that. So after the first day, we had like heirloom cauliflower. We got like purple cauliflower, yellow cauliflower. We're roasting it, and we're just doing all this heirloom old varieties of beans and all. And they came home and they said, "Mom, we don't want you to pack our food up no more. We love the food there." And it's just, you know, it's amazing to see what some good food would do to change your perspective.
Now, will you quickly, I know you have a deal signed where you're doing seasonings in Corner Market. Is that correct? And what's the next 12 months look like for you?
The next 12 months, Corner Market has 19 stores. So hopefully in the next 90 days, I'll be in all 19 of the stores. I want to, you know, have the construction started at the Culinary Center, which is going to be preserved by Nick Wallace. And it's going to be, I'm going to do a lot of my nonprofit endeavors. Midtown is going to do a lot of their nonprofit. We're going to have a studio kitchen in there because, you know, you have all kinds of studios out here, but not a studio kitchen. So people will be able to come and do a lot of their content, do cooking shows, product lines, whatever you want. But we'll also teach people how to teach them how to do butchery, age meats, make cheese. We'll have chef's tables in there. We'll do cooking classes. It's going to be huge, 15,000 square feet. And that community deserves it because they gave me my first shot. That's where they gave me an opportunity to open up my first kitchen there when I first opened up my business. So I owe them a debt of gratitude, the whole community, because they've been great to me. And I'm going to judge some shows. I'm going to go out and see cooks and chefs on the other side of the table. And I'm going to see it from a different lens. And Mississippi needs a place there behind that table. So I'm going to do it very well. I'm going to, try my best to make everybody proud. And it's just all about partnerships. Ben's Original, we're on our second year with Ben's Original. We're about to do some amazing campaigns and things for the kids, and hopefully a new product line, but we'll see. And Dole Foods is great, with Boys and Girls Club. I'm sure y'all know all about that. There's wonderful things with Oat Cane and Dole Foods is doing. It's just completely amazing. And, for me, I might dabble a little bit into the restaurant business. I got some other concepts up my sleeve that I want to open. Because I just want to do some things in areas that people probably don't think that I should be, but I think I should be. And I just want to do things for a reason, because that's the reason why the Nissan Cafe by Nick Wallace was even birthed, because it was just good for the culture. And I just knew it was a huge opportunity. It's not a huge revenue generator, but it does a whole lot for my soul. And that right there, anything that can keep me happy, that's where I want to be.
Well, I'm inspired. I don't know about y'all. I think our next show ought to be time management tips with Nick Wallace. How to get a lot done. Because, how to have assistants, how to, anyway. So this is just, amazing. And, and we're proud to know you, and we're proud that you are both from Mississippi and you are still of Mississippi, and you're still here, doing this kind of work and doing it like you just said, in communities that, other people haven't done that kind of work, and inspiring our young people toward that potential and that excellence. So thank you really for doing this for all of our home state. I mean, it's remarkable stuff. So we hope to have you back at some point. We'll be paying attention to what you're doing, visiting you. Maybe we can have a little event over at one. I think Kimberly was hinting about that earlier as we get out and start having events again. So Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
Yeah, come to Midtown. We will do some amazing things over there.
We would love to. We're all about it, as you know. So we'll be in touch on that.
All right.
And to the rest of you, thank you so much for watching this tonight. Remember that, a lot of our viewers see this later on, both on YouTube and Facebook. So please share it. Let people know about the show, pass it around, whatever you need to do to so that more people are plugged into the mind and spirit of Nick Wallace. We're going to be taking at least another week off from MFP Live. We both have some travel coming up, so we'll be back in a few weeks. So watch out for the shows that we have coming up. And also we have a wonderful member talk that is going to be in early August. And I have there's my graphic on August 2nd, former Governor and Navy Secretary Ray Mabus, a Mississippi Free Press supporter, is going to be joining us for a member conversation. So if you are a member of the MFP VIP Club, which you can do with a donation to our nonprofit media of as little as $10 a month. Here's some marketing, Nick, like you were talking about. For as little as $10 a month, just go to mfp.ms/join and join up, and you'll get all of our past shows, my writing talk series and upcoming memoir talk series, Anjanou Ellis, Angie Thomas, Stuart Stevens, Rena Evers, Randall Pinkston. So many wonderful conversations are already there for you to watch if you join, if you're not already a member. And we're really looking forward to talking to Ray Mabus about his visions for the state that he used to govern. So we're really excited about doing that. And always remember, any donation helps us grow this journalism at mfp.ms/donate. Note, Kimberly smiled when I said that because she is the Chief Revenue Officer. So I would get in trouble if I forgot to say that. So we will see all of you soon. Thank you, Kimberly, as always. And Nick, we really do appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Kim.
We'll see y'all next week. We'll see you.